I believe this is my responsibility to welcome everybody, which is a pleasure to do. Look at this. What a wonderful group. And I see no icicles hanging from anyone's earlobes. So you must be where it's warm. That's good. Well, this is the meeting of the Fast Forward Charter High School Board of Trustees. This is February 2nd, 2023. Time right now is 4:03. And I would like to welcome all of you. I'll invite each of you to introduce yourselves, and we'll go not by any particular order other than the way you appear on my screen. So, Alex, would you like to?
Alex Garrett, Vice Principal.
Jill?
Jill Lowe, Principal.
Lynn?
Lynn Hobbs, Board Member.
Ryan?
Ryan Marchant, Business Manager.
Frank?
Frank Stewart, Logan City School Board.
And Teresa?
Teresa Olson, Board Member.
Wonderful. And I'm Rich West, Board President, and delighted to welcome you all. You've all received the agenda, I believe. Any changes needed to the agenda? Hearing none, let's move forward. First item on our agenda. Oh, look at that. The only problem is now I can't see all of you at the same time. That's okay. I can scroll and make sure that everybody's still there. So the first item on our agenda is FY23 July to December 22 financial report. So the first 6 months of our fiscal year financial report. Ryan, I believe.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Rich. I appreciate that. And I need to apologize to Lynn. Lynn, I'm sorry we didn't have an audit committee meeting. I know we were trying to do that. I think we're trying to get, one more member on our board to sit on that audit committee with us, if I don't remember right. So we need to find somebody. But I'm convinced that, I'm committed, I guess I should more say, that we're going to have one before our next, I think our next board meeting's in April, I believe. So we'll do that. So the long and short of having that meeting before this one is so that we just don't have to spend as much time going through this. And I don't want to spend a lot of time going through this anyway. That's why we sent it out at least 24 hours in advance. And I think you should have had this sometime early yesterday morning. Yeah. So you could simply look at this and see and have any questions. And, the narrative doesn't change a lot, but because our financials are kind of what they are, but the numbers do change. And that's the thing that I want to draw your attention to. But kind of going back to our last board meeting, we're just building off some of that momentum that we had from our last board meeting. So things are going well. Our revenues are up. They're in excess of what our budget was, because we were running a more conservative budget. So our revenues are in excess of our budget by about $545,000, which is really good. And then, we also have received additional funding. Most of that's come in the way of the variable K through 12, and then the charter school local replacement funds that have come in there. And our CTE funding is also been about $73,000. Kind of the long and short that I want to be through for everybody here, because I don't want to take a lot of the time here unless there are a lot of questions that people have, and I'll open that up to them. But I do just kind of want to let people know generally you can go through this detail and kind of feather out that, things are going well. And that's kind of the things that there's always things in areas that we can improve on, and areas that, between Jill and I, that we talk about, what do we need here and what do we need to do here. And and they'll always continue to be that conversation, just simply to be better. But suffice it to say that so far in the first 6 months of this year, we have about a $900,000 net income. And you can kind of see that in our cash flow as you look at the cash flow charts. You know, it's been a good strong year for us, and that's I give the credit to Jill and Alex and the team up there. They're doing some great things, and it's actually caught the attention of some other schools that I work with, and I've kind of said, hey, you know, whatever works for you best, but this is something that you might take a look at and maybe see if it's something that might pique your interest a little bit, just a little bit way of doing things that's been successful. And so when we go through this, I really want to give the credit to them because they're the ones up there with the boots on the ground and they're doing a great job. And so I'm really glad just to be here and report to you that the school is still continuing to do well. And because of that, we can reward some of our teachers and we can do some things. So I'm just kind of thinking, you know, of some of the areas where we've spent some funds to pick up we've picked up some equipment. Our school has plenty of equipment. And we're just kind of cycle through that. So I think, and I guess I'll ask this question to Jill and Alex just for conversation here, but I think as far as capital expenses for computers and stuff, I think we're pretty well set. Wouldn't you say, Jill?
As far as needing any more,
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
we
we
pretty
do.
close.
We
Go ahead.
do have some. We will have actually quite a few incoming students this spring as our seniors cycle out and get graduated. And so we always have need for some laptops. In fact, we just kind of bought a bunch of them, but for the most part, we won't buy any more till summer. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we are. Like with the amount of like since COVID going 1-to-1, like the repairs on those equipment, like on the computers, like has increased where before they were just in the classrooms and only being used there, but with the kids transporting them back and forth and different things, like we've seen an increase just kind of in the damages, but we also have way more kids. So I think either way, we're in a good place. Like every kid has access to technology. Every kid, like there's no reason a kid can't have what they need, and we've made sure of that. So I think we're sitting pretty well. The other thing too is right before COVID, are like aging out Chromebooks. Like we've had to replace some of those throughout too. Like Chromebooks have like a lifespan, quote unquote, where the hardware becomes no longer supported. So you have to phase out your old stock with new stock. And so we've been doing that as well. But right now everyone has everything they need, which is where we want it.
Yeah. And that's, again, it's something that we kind of look at, and with our growing enrollment, we want to make sure that we have the technology needs that we have. Alex, do you want to skip down to the next page there? You can see that. No, that's good. That's good for just a minute. Just the balance sheet items, you can kind of see where our net cash position is right now, and then some of our payroll liabilities that are kind of in and out on a monthly basis that we pay as those become due. Most of them are tied to, of course, our payroll. So, okay, let's go down to the next one, Alex, right here. You can see the 6-month history of our cash balances and kind of where we are there. Then also just a history of our head count that we have. We're currently sitting at 450 students, essentially. We've got a really big junior class, which that's a big junior class. I was surprised when they told me they had that many juniors. That's great though. And then obviously again another strong senior class. So far we've spent about 50% of our budget, maybe just a little bit over, about 56%. But again, that's a conservative budget. We're gonna have to come back and we'll reapprove a budget probably in our May or June board meeting. We'll have an updated budget for everybody to kind of take a look at. The rest of it's just kind of the details behind it. Our balance sheet, our income statement, our balance sheet, and then profit and loss by class. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. any questions or I kind of don't, where do you want to go? Do you have any questions or concerns that I can answer for you?
I do have a question. I'd like you to manage my stock portfolio as I look at that cash balance and I look at the trend. It doesn't look at all like my
Stock portfolio.
portfolio.
Yeah, I
Was-
feel your pain. Rich, I feel your pain on that one. It doesn't look like mine either. So it's good to know that at least somebody's cash balance is increasing. So yeah, most portfolios are going in the opposite direction, but we're fortunate that it's going in the reverse for us here. So
That's great.
Trying to think some areas where we need some improvement or some areas of concerns, because these are good reports to have, but we always have to be, like I said, we always have to be looking down the road as far as what's the next thing that's going to be coming up. We've talked about blind spots sometimes, and where are we blind? And I know that there are some, and we think about those. And I think one of the areas that we're kind of talking about, and we'll talk about this later on in the board meeting, is just kind of the facility and where we are there. And we'll kind of give you a little bit of an update on that. So we'll kind of hold off on that discussion for a moment. Jill, Alex, can you think of any pressing needs that you guys are up there on a daily basis too, and you guys are seeing it. Can you guys think of anything where we're short or what we might be missing here?
No, I can't.
We used to hear, we've even tried to make strides as far as like compensation for our teachers, and there always is a little bit of a lag, and but I think we're even making some good strides there. So it's been nice to have some extra money to be able to really compensate people to the way that they need to be compensated and reward them for the job that they're doing. And like I said, I go back to Alex and Jill again, and it starts with those guys and making sure that we're taking care of them, and then from there it just goes down to everybody. When the tide comes in and it's up, everybody benefits from it. So anyway, I don't want to beat that any more than we need to, but I just want to make sure that people are aware of kind of where we are and answer any questions that you might have.
And our salaries are still competitive relative to our local school districts, right?
Yeah, they are. We're usually, I would say, about a year behind. There's typically a year lag on that. But even recently, I think we're on par, and we kind of go, but we don't have a posted salary schedule, and maybe we need to. But really, I don't know if it even does any good anyway, because even if we did have a posted salary schedule, we'd be beholden to what the other school districts around us are paying. So that's kind of where we negotiate from, is just going off of those two different salary schedules.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board?
I don't have anything. Everything I looked over looks great to me.
Well, I noticed that our attachments for the meeting today only amounted to 112 pages.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that maybe we should have a board quiz over the content, just to make sure that we've all
Read the
All
material.
read it.
I don't want to embarrass anybody, especially the president, so I'm not going to do that. Well, wonderful. Ryan, thank you very much. I know that this it's a challenge to stay on top of everything like this, but we greatly appreciate it. And you're always prepared and responsive to questions we might have. So thank you very much. Appreciate everything that you do to manage our finances appropriately. It's one of the areas that seems like we don't have to worry about. I mean, we always are concerned about making sure that we have enough to cover everything. But you seem to keep us in a position where we can respond to the needs we have. Thank you very much. And
Thank you
to
for that.
Jill and Alex, and I'm sure this extends to everyone else in the school, we don't look at this and say, wow, this is wonderful. Let's run out and spend this largesse as quickly as we can, because we know that surprises come up tomorrow, and we want to be prepared to deal with those. So I appreciate you all being responsible and, well, I'll just say fiscally responsive or responsible. I don't know that I want to be stingy, but to be responsible, I think is important. So thank you very much.
Yeah. And to fast forwards over our 20 some odd years, we've seen the highs and the lows, and we know it's kind of a wave. And so we do try to be conservative. But again, I want to, like you were saying, Rich, I want to pass a lot of this goes to Jill and her team. And I mean, they just, they've been innovative up there, and they've done a lot of cool things. And it's been such a relief to finally be able to have some breathing room. From my perspective, this is, in a lot of ways, these are fun reports to give, because there is breathing room and it's nice. But in the past, I felt like I was more, it was more of a management for me, because it was cash flow and it was making sure. But it's just so nice to be in. Can't tell you how nice it is to be in this position. I really do enjoy it. So anyway, enough on that. I think we probably need to get onto the financial audit review, right?
Let's do the audit review, but let me just say one last thing, and that is our position means that we are in a position where we can respond to needs as they arise.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to be. We don't have to feel like we're being held hostage.
Yeah,
so
true.
Let's move to the audit review. And as I look through it, I think there's some more good news.
Yeah, and you can look through that and see we did have another successful year. Alex, you want to go down to just the first page of the financials? Keep going. This is just the opening letter that they talk about what they're going to do. Right, one more up. I'll keep going. Right, can you get to the bottom where you can see the net numbers on that one? Just there we go. That's it. So this is just the general overview. If you were just to sum up where your financial position is, this is it right here. This is our net position. At the beginning of 2021, we had $153,000 in negative net asset, which was good, to be honest, because really that number, all that's in that number is depreciation in our state retirement fund shortfall we have no control over. And unfortunately, that number might be getting more, but for right now, this is kind of where we are. But we had an $800,000 change for last year, so our net asset position went from a negative 153 to a positive 650,000, which is great. It's really good for us. And then I'm just going to kind of hit that, and then you can hit the highlights and kind of, if you want to know the nuts and bolts of fast forward outside of, say, what's going on educationally up there, if you just want to know how we operate, this is what you want to read, because it tells the debt service that we have. It talks about our state retirement fund. It talks about our insurances that we carry. It talks about a whole range of issues that you might not know that are going on here that we actually do. So I just would encourage you to really go through and read that, because we're not obviously going to do that today because there's more important things to talk about. But just know two things. I'll give you the good, and then I'll give you the one thing that we need to work on. The good is that we're in a good fund. This is just indicative of what we just talked about in our financial report. Now this is audited numbers, and you can see that, that's kind of where it is. Once somebody can come in and verify the information that we're giving you in these financial reports is true. So that's good. We'll continue to have another solid position again this next year, which will be great. And looking forward for the next several years, I think that we really will build our net asset position, which is good. I think we're really going to have some good, fortunate years going forward, which means we even in some ways have to get better at managing resources, because when you do have an abundance, sometimes you get sloppy. I think we need to guard against that on some levels. When money's tight, you're always looking over it. You're always making sure that it's, that you have enough of it. But when you're necessarily kind of pulled out of that position, maybe there's an ease that comes with that. And I think we need to try to avoid that if we can. The second thing, we did have one finding on this, and that was just that we had procurement issues up there. And, I take the blame for that, just simply because it was twofold. There really were some issues that probably we needed to get a couple more bids on. And again, that's probably because I was either giving permission to do something that we shouldn't have, or we just weren't doing that. The second, probably bigger reason for it is because we actually had a more restrictive procurement policy than what the state required. We were actually at $1,000 for 2 bids, and the state is actually 5. So again, we should have had that corrected, but we have since corrected that now. And I'm not to say that we won't have those issues coming up again, because we very well could. And every audit's going to have something that you can work on. This is just something that we need to be a little more aware of for our procurement, to make sure that we're kind of in line with that. So, that's the one finding that they did have, was just that we came back and, we were in compliance with the state, with internal controls. Those are the 2 big things that they look at, is where you're not non-compliant with your internal controls, and they didn't have any findings there. And then the other one was the state compliance testing, where they go through a whole host of testing that they do, and we were in compliance there as well. So just wanted to let you know, yeah, overall it was a pretty wide-ranging report. It's always a wide-ranging audit that they do. We just never know what they're going to look at, but we've been doing it long enough. We have a pretty good idea. So that's kind of the good and the bad of where we are. So any questions on that? Is there any questions anybody has on our audit for last year?
No.
I just think that change that we made to go to 5,000 is going to help a lot of that, the problems
Yeah.
we've had. So
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
If our biggest challenge is that we were operating under a more restrictive policy and practice than is recommended, I'd say that's not too serious. And so,
Well, and I
clients, we're going to be in good shape.
yeah. And I really want to give, she's not here today, but my Kirsten that works up there, that has been up with the finances for a long time. She kind of gets more and more into it, but she does a tremendous job up there. She's really very helpful in the things that she does for us. So I want to give her a shout out for the great job that she does.
And her nickname is Kiss. Not that Ryan wants to give her a kiss. Her nickname is Kiss. She goes by Kiss.
Well, that's nice to know, and probably none of us will ever be heard using that name. Okay, any questions or further comments from anyone? Okay, hearing none. Once again, thank you, Ryan. This is nice to be associated with an organization that has these kinds of audit and such stimulating reading of 100 pages.
Yeah, it'll put you to sleep.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is going to require some action by the board. Alex, you want to talk to us about the wellness policy update?
Yep. So every school in the state has to have a wellness policy. factors in health education, physical education, and then encompasses the food program as well. So this year, we've always had this wellness policy, but we updated it to reflect what the state model is. So I can take credit for 28 of those 100 pages today. But all it is just basically we're helping encourage students to live healthy lives. We encourage our staff to live healthy lives, and it talks about the different type of education that we give the students, as well as like the breakdown of, I don't know, anything that has to do with health, you can more or less find in this document. So the only thing we did is we removed, there was portions in there about elementary schools. I removed those because we don't have that. And that's really the only change from USBE's model document. So has all the things we need, all the boxes that we check. And then we have a committee here of people that just look at it every year and see that we're hitting the mark with what we want. We do have the flexibility to add in things like if we see a specific need. But if we go all the way, the biggest one in the past has been the mental health part of it. And that's actually a big, the state added that in. And so truthfully, it's everything that we do here anyways, just kind of formalized in a policy. That's
I
really
appreciated the section on air quality that, Fast Forward is going to take care of ensuring that we all have air free of pollutants. Thank
as
you.
much as we can. Yep. And the interesting thing is, like, because of the sun safety stuff, like with the summer program, I always take sunscreen and I offer it to the students. They always refuse, but as part of this, like, we have to provide it and offer it for students. So kind of fun little things that you realize.
Well, get it in the spray version so you can just quickly give them a sprit.
Yeah, exactly.
I can just see you lathering everybody with the sunblock.
Summer crew, yeah, it's an interesting time.
So, questions or comments? You know that this is a policy that already exists at the school and one we've approved previously, other than the change that Alex has talked about. Any questions or comments? And that includes also an invitation for someone to introduce a motion to accept or adopt.
I will make a motion that we accept the health and wellness policy.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion. This is
Teresa.
Teresa.
Thank you very much. Any further question on the motion? Everybody, this is your time to ask those really difficult questions. Okay, hearing none. Those in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
I can't see everybody all at the same time, but I'll ask for opposing vote too. If there are any opposed, make that known. So the motion passes unanimously, and we have adopted the wellness policy as proposed. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, guys.
Jill, talk to us about the facility.
Okay. Ryan's gonna probably talk a little more than I will about this. We wanted to give you guys an update on what's happening with our we talked a little bit this fall about the need for some expansion in the school, so our programs have the room to do what they need to do, and our students are able to, have get the biggest bang for their buck, I guess. So we have been working, on what can we do with the space that we have, what's a possibility. Yeah, I'll just turn the time over to Ryan because he's a little he's a little better versed in this kind of stuff than I am. So
Well, thanks, Jill. And I know Jill's done a lot of the footwork up here and done a lot of the contacts. We're actually going to meet up there on Monday to look at some other options as well. So when we did get the preliminary report back, it was beneficial in several different areas where we could do some site planning. So I think we tried to accomplish a couple different things with having a group come out and spend a little money. I think it was money well spent because, first of all, we just wanted to find out, could we actually do what we wanted to do on our current site? And I think we've kind of come up with the answer to that, and it's yes, we can. The second part that we wanted to find out as well, now that we know that we can do it, what's that going to cost us? And so that's kind of, we have some of those answers, at least a first take at something like that we can kind of look at now. So the good news is that, yeah, we can expand on our facility, and I think that we can do that. I think that we can create value, and we can put the spaces that we need to. It does come, the downside is that it does come with, in my opinion, a significant cost. The building to come back to do that was about $9 million to build out some additional space for a gym. I think it was about 17,000 square feet of new construction that we were going to do. And then about let's see, probably about 9,000 of remodeled. We're going to take the current gym and then remodel that out. So all in, when you look at the square footage that we were going to either put down new or that we were going to remodel, we were looking at about a $350 a square foot number, which is, I follow it close enough to know kind of where we are, but not close enough to know how much better or how much worse it could be. But it seems to me that that's a fairly high number at $350 a square foot to do some construction. So I know we're in that period where interest rates are high, construction costs are also high, and usually those two kind of work inversely with each other, if you will, for a moment. And so I think over the long period, we're going to see construction costs actually start to come down. I don't think that we're there yet. I do think that maybe in the third or fourth quarter of this year, we could definitely see some things come down as the interest rates stay a little bit high and inflation stays a little bit higher. But again, it's hard for me to predict exactly what that's going to be like. For our scenario, we have some money in the bank. We obviously use some of that to fund some of this. So let's say we took about $1 million of our 1.7 that we have, or 8, and use that to fund some of this build out. We could certainly do that. But if we took down this entire bit, that means we'd probably take down about a $7 to $8 million loan at about a 7 or 8% interest rate, which, would be a fairly sizable chunk for us. That would put our total debt service between our current building and what we would take down is about $55,000 to $60,000 a month. So about $400,000 plus a year in debt service. We have the headcount to do that, but would it make it a harder conversation when people wanted to come get raises? And we wouldn't. It would just be a lot tighter for our school. So this is kind of the thing, and I know Logan deals with this, and every school deals with it, and charter schools, we're no different. If you get facility heavy and facility rich, then where are you going to cut back in some of your other areas? And there comes a point when you do need some additional facility. I do think that Fast Forward is there. We just have the student headcount for it, and they've done a great job expanding the program. I really think that we need to take a look at that. And so, like I said, this is kind of just a first take on this. And so now that we kind of know what we want to do and we're getting a better idea of how we want to do it, how do we get better at it? How do we sharpen our pencils and get it so that it's a better deal for Fast Forward? Meaning, is there other possibilities that we can do? And that's kind of why we're meeting Monday. We're meeting with someone that actually puts up steel frame buildings. The bid that we got here was more of a traditional school construction, which is going to be more expensive. So we're kind of looking at some different routes. And, when you think of steel frame, you kind of think you've seen some ugly steel frame buildings. I think steel frames actually come quite a ways. So it's something that we could look at and maybe even have it cut some of our costs, potentially even significantly. So we don't have all the answers right now, I guess is what I'm saying. We just kind of, we're just starting to look through that window and see what we're looking at, what are we dealing with? And it's becoming more and more clear as we get these little bits of information from our different sources. And so we're just kind of moving forward without making any hard or fast decisions. Obviously, once we come to make that decision, we'll bring it before the board. But we just want to, we're kind of still more in the due diligence phase of this. We're looking at it, we're seeing, where interest rates are headed, where are construction costs headed, what are some things that we can do alternatively. Maybe we cut some of these things back. Maybe we do without a gym for a little bit and we do the remodel portion on the gym, which was, just a little over, it was about $1.3 million. So, there are things that we can do where we can get, little bits and pieces of this done. And maybe we don't do it all at once. As we build our cash flow up, maybe we just see what our cash flow is, do what we can at that point, and then kind of move down the road. So we're looking at that right now. We do need some additional classroom space. Our cafeteria is probably a little bit small. The school was built for a lot less population than we have. And these are good problems to have. It's just how do we make it cheaper for us, but yet adequate? And I think that's the conversation that we're trying to come to right now, so that we actually have something that's meaningful and actionable when we come before the board. And that could take a little bit of time as we kind of work through this. So I know we have a good relationship with the bank. I don't think we would have any problem getting a bank to come in and lend us money. I think that that relationship is built and strong. It's just, what's it going to cost us to borrow their money, and how deep do we want the bank to get into fast forward? So right now our current debt situation is good. I mean, it's, our mortgage is cheap, and that's bought our building, and we've been prudent. And I think because of those decisions that we've made over a long run, we're in a position now where we can expand and do it well. But I think that we need to think through that, and that's kind of where we are. So maybe not the news that everybody was looking for. We were hoping actually for a better number. I know Jill was a little disappointed when she got that number and saw that it was $9 million to expand, but we just simply had to kind of see where the market was, instead of getting into something that was not true and right, and then just being caught off guard by a number that came in way north of where we thought it was going to be.
The $350 a square foot, was that the estimate? I mean, we haven't gone into how much different people that would be building it, what their costs would be. And so
yeah, this was an estimate, and based upon someone that's there is a contractor that gave us this estimate, just based upon where, and so it was an actual contractor that gave us the rough estimate that we were looking for.
okay.
Frank, question, I think.
Well, I was just going to make a comment. I don't have any, I guess, authority to say anything related to Bridgerland Technical College having additional space available, perhaps. But in the short run, we have so much happening across the street that I don't know if there might be some short-term opportunities to help us. For example, we're on schedule with our new health sciences building to complete that at the end of July. And that's going to cause a cascade of things potentially to happen within Bridgerland. About 50% of the main building is being taken up by those health science programs that are all going to be moving over into the new building. And I'm sure you're aware that we purchased the Trans Chill building and the old Herb Chome building across the street. And there's an entrepreneur center, prognosis for that, and a couple of other things. And some of that will move out of the West building. And so I don't know if there is a worthy conversation to have with President Campbell or instructional to where that, and I don't know if it's possible to even go across the street, but at least certainly utilizing part of the West building for a short term might be an option at some point. So I just make that as a comment to consider if that might help at all.
That's a good thing to look at, I think.
Yeah.
So one of the things, I've got 2 or 3 comments, I guess. I appreciate the fact that you are all thinking about alternatives to the full construction project amounting to $9+ million, and thinking about projects that might represent increments of that, and doing something now and then building upon that over the course of time. We are in a good position in the sense that we do have some money that we can spend. I don't know that we are in what we would consider a desperate circumstance, but I think as this goes on, we're going to get closer to desperation. And so thinking about the future and how to accommodate the number of students we have, and even the possibility of our enrollments increasing, I think it's wise to be thinking about this and making plans. One of the things I have thought about, and I always think about this, is there another property somewhere else that we could pick up and maybe we could find a real bargain property somewhere. I don't know if that exists, but having thought just a little bit about that, and then I was also thinking about the location, and frankly, being kind of close to Bridgerland to me is an advantage. Because Bridgerland is such a large footprint, we kind of benefit in a sense by being in an education corridor, so to speak. And I like the idea of being close. And so I kind of hesitate to think too aggressively about, well, maybe we should move, because being close to Bridgerland, I think, is a real advantage as well. So I appreciate, Frank, you suggesting the possibility without making an offer, but at least the possibility that there might be some shared space in the short term. And who knows, maybe we could institutionalize some programs that would have a little bit more permanent arrangement with Bridgerland, and create opportunities for our students that they could count on moving forward into the future.
Well, I'd be happy to bring this up to President Campbell for his consideration. Obviously, we had Methods, who is our architect for the health sciences building, actually do a master plan at the same time for all of our property. And that's, of course, 10, 20, 30 years down the road for anything else. Gosh, it took us 50 years to get a brand new building. So, you know, that's so there is some property, there are some facilities, and there may be some options or possibilities with that. For example, one thing I'm thinking of is that when the health science students move over to the new building, one concept is that automated manufacturing should be next to welding and machining. And so would that program all move from the west building over to the main building? So space then changes quite a bit. So, but I'd be happy to mention that to President Campbell, that it's a consideration for him to evaluate with Fast Forward to see if there are some things that they could do.
That would be good. And I think Jill and I could definitely talk. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. I didn't mean to cut anybody off. I know Jill's trying to jump in here. But,
Oh, no.
I think that we'll look at these possibilities and talk about this on Monday when we get together. I know me, Jill, probably Alex, and maybe a couple others. But Yeah, I've thought about moving as well, and I do like where we are currently. I've thought several times over the years, would we want to move and would we want to do that? And I'm kind of with you, Rich. I'm not sure that that's the best solution if we can kind of get what we want on our existing property. I mean, we are landlocked in some ways. Clearly, there is a limit to what the amount we can do there, but I don't also see us being, past. Well, who knows what our limit is for our enrollment, but I think that for where we are right now, we probably need to look, but I don't see it going much north of maybe where we are now, but I could be wrong.
Mhm.
Well, so maybe a collaborative project, develop an engineering program, and we'll create a pedestrian tunnel under 1400 North.
That'd be
Make-
cool.
Blend a little.
Or over.
Yeah.
Take a bit over.
Or over, yeah.
Over, but it just seems to me that over time,
Under.
yeah, well,
Well,
you just,
I do think that we can come back with some kind of a reasonable, I really do feel like, look, I think we're all kind of in agreements that something here is going to happen. We're just in a position where something needs to happen. It's just, we're probably not going to take the whole thing down at once, but we're going to make a plan and we're going to chart a course to maybe potentially get there. We just got to find out what are the priorities now and what can we really afford without putting us in a tough position. But yet, where are we going to get the most value for those dollars that we're going to spend? And we're starting that conversation now. And I think that once we finally come to the board and say, this is the proposition that we have, I think that you can probably rest assured that we've thought about that several different ways, and we would certainly look for your input on that as well.
I think that's great. I think we're all on board with the idea that something needs to happen.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be ahead than trying to play catch up and build out of desperation. So we can, and maybe we're even a little bit too late to say that we're ahead of the game, but at least we're on schedule for addressing the need.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, good. So I look forward to hearing more in future board meetings. Anything else, Jill, Ryan, on that issue?
I don't. Jill, do you have anything?
No, we're just continuing to try to find innovative ways to serve our students, and there seems to be quite the growing number of students that are wanting the alternative ed approach, and so we're trying to find better ways to keep our schools small and service more kids. So thoughts or ideas are always welcome and appreciated.
Yeah.
So
Well, let me just, that I think you have done a remarkable job of using the facility to its maximum.
Yeah.
It's that your innovative scheduling, I think, has distributed the student body across the entire day.
It
yes.
And
really is awesome the way that they've structured it up there. It really is. It's a thing of beauty. It's they've been able to really to pull this off. I'm really am kind of in awe of it. It's been really cool to see.
Yeah, it works pretty well. And I don't know if everyone knows, we started an evening class schedule, and it's not, we call it the evening schedule, but it's from 3:30 to 6:30, and we've had pretty great success. We have great attendance. The kids that are coming are doing very well. So yeah, we're just continuing to think of ways that we can service more of these students that are coming out of the woodwork. So
Yeah. Would you mind if I come to that meeting Monday?
no, please do. We're going to meet Monday at noon.
Okay.
So anyone who wants to come, just come. I've
All right.
got a local steel building guy that's going to come, and I talked to him about, what our struggles are and what we need, and, and he's going to come give us some options. He's actually doing some work and trying to put together some plans for us and some cost estimates on different ideas. So yeah,
All
please
right.
come.
Okay, thanks.
wonderful. Jill, do you want to move into the principal's report?
Yeah, I think that's Alex. Do I have anything? Am I missing something? I want to talk to you guys about our evening program. It's been pretty successful so far. We just started it about 3 weeks ago, and we've got a handful of good teachers and some paraprofessionals that are on board and helping teach that additional session in the evenings. And so Brian and I had this idea of doing this evening group while we're looking for an additional space to house kids, or trying to just be flexible with helping these students that we see more high schools going up in the valley, but no more alternative offerings. They've kind of stayed stagnant. So we're really trying to respond to the needs in our community and think differently about how we can help provide education to these kids that need an alternative education. So other than that, I don't think I had anything. Alex, am I forgetting something?
I think the only thing like in line with that is you saw our enrollment number of 448, and we still have a wait list. Like we still have kids trying to get in. So I think that's another kind of just important note is even though we have that many kids, there's still kids out there, and we're probably at least 20 or so deep on that wait list. So which it's a good problem to have, so but we're just like Jill said, we offer every kid that gets on the wait list the evening section because that is where we can add
Openings
the most
are
kids currently right now, but it doesn't work for every kid or every family, as we know, but we're trying to get them in as quickly as we can, and it's pretty great. So
Well, I like the idea that if you're on the wait list, we at least offer you some options. They may not be your first choice, but
Right.
while we may not be able to accommodate you in your first choice, we can offer other options. And well, what else do we have to discuss today?
I think that's it. We had some online days this week because of the temperatures. We lost power to our building one day. But other than that, we were back today with a regular in-person day, and most of us stayed warm and okay. So yeah, that's kind of all of the updates on our end. We do have
I was
accreditation
just
coming up.
curious when graduation date is and location.
Yes, so graduation will be held on May 24th, and it's at 2 p.m. And we will have it up in the
US ballroom.
we're not going to do the ballroom this year because we're too big. We're going to go to the Danes Concert Hall. Is that
Oh.
correct?
Okay.
I think we now call it the Performance Hall.
There you go, the Performance Hall. Yes, that's where we're going to be.
Excellent.
So
thank
we
you.
will send more information out this, in the next March-ish, next couple months. But yeah, May 24th at 2 p.m.
Great, thank
Okay.
you.
That's great.
the only other thing was our next board meeting was scheduled for April 6th, but that's during Fast Forward's spring break. So I don't know if we wanted to set a next meeting for that now, or if we want to
Probably the week
decide via
after.
email. Yeah, we could do the week after. That'd be the
13th. Yeah.
15th,
Ryan, does that work for you?
The 13th works for me. Yeah.
13th.
Is that one you're thinking, Alex?
That's I'd say either push it back a week, or I think that's good.
Yeah, I think that
If
works.
everyone's good with
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
I did want to mention one other thing. I don't know if you heard me. We have accreditation coming up this next school year. So that's a big endeavor coming up. Anyway, other than that, that's it.
Good.
Okay.
That'll give us something to do.
Yeah. Anyone wants to join us on that, I'll send an invite. Just come
Okay.
with treats if you come.
We got a
All
lot of
right.
good writers on our board, Joe. Maybe you got to start, passing out some sections.
See us some job responsibilities. I'm sure that's what they all want.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well,
Anyway,
Unless there's something else we need to talk about, I'm ready to celebrate the fact that we have completed this in an hour.
Wow.
Sounds good.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll call this meeting adjourned.
Thank
Okay,
you, team.
bye.
Bye.